I'm not sweet Utkarsh. I never was. I'm Cruella. Born brilliant, born bad, and a little bit mad. Hello, and welcome to World Cinema Breakdown. And I'm your host, Utkarsh Raheja, and today I'm very excited to present to you a whole new video. And you can embark on this new journey with me, and this new journey that I speak of is called Cruella. Well, what is Cruella, you ask? Cruella is a 2021 Disney movie, a live-action Disney movie as a matter of fact, and I understand that in the last several years, the live-action movies have not necessarily hit up to par for most of them, but I've heard that this is one of the better ones, and I'm very excited to check it out because later tonight I'll be watching this movie with two of my friends, and while I consider myself a big Disney fan, those other two, they are massive Disney fans, and if they recommend it or if they think this is something that we should all check out, I'm very excited. So let's get right to it. Let's jump into the trailer and we'll go from there. Let's begin. Emma Stone. Of course, I forgot to mention I'm excited because of her as well.
The world differently than everyone else. That didn't sit well with some people.
Two badass women.
But
I like it.
For everyone. I guess they were always scared.
I like her red hair.
A psycho.
But I know Cruella doesn't have red hair. So let's see what happens.
But a new day brings new opportunities.
I think we're gonna get grand scenes throughout this, aren't we?
To make a statement.
They are the Dalmatians.
How does the saying go?
Whoa, okay, that was a sick dress.
I am woman, hear me roar.
I'm really enjoying the music in this because I feel like the music is adding to the feel of the movie.
Started, darling.
Or at least it appears that way.
The thing is, I was born brilliant, born bad, and a little bit
Some
mad.
epic chase scenes all throughout, I like it. Of course, gotta always have a good classic burning building. Build up the stakes. Ooh, well, wow, that seemed exciting. Okay, let's get right into it. Like I said before, I have not seen anything to do with Cruella, the 101 Dalmatians, none of that. So this was completely new to me, and I think based on the few minutes that I saw here, it seems that Emma Stone really has kicked it out of the park in terms of her portrayal of Cruella. Because, I mean, I haven't seen the movie yet, but it seems that she really had a good, strong grasp of the character. But there's only one way to find out. Well, I'm going to go check out the movie, and I'll be right back, and I'll let you know how it went. See you guys on the other side. Bye-bye. I'm back. You guessed it. I just saw the movie, and I have to say, I am completely taken aback and very surprised because I did not go into this movie expecting to like it so much, and I have to say, I mean, it definitely was one of the best Disney movies I've seen in a very long time, and that's saying a lot because Disney is usually very up to par. And, just diving right into it, I think one thing that really struck out to me was the fact that I didn't expect it to have so many shades as a Disney movie or as a movie about the origin story of a villain because, oh my, I mean, I'm going to touch upon some of the specifics about some of the characters later on, but just talking about the main character herself, Cruella de Vil, portrayed by Emma Stone, there were so many shades to that character. There was no black, there was no white, there was a lot of gray. And as I've mentioned in some of my prior videos, I don't like it when there's a character that's straight up black or straight up white, meaning just a bad guy or a good guy. There was so much overlap in her character, which was just very much appreciated because it made the character feel so real. And another thing is, this is probably the darkest Disney movie I've ever seen. Correct me if I'm wrong, but at least in recent memory, at the very minimum, I don't think I've seen a darker Disney movie, and I like that because, hey, I mean, I still think this can be enjoyed by a lot of kids as well as adults alike, so that is just excellent. And as I just mentioned Emma Stone earlier, let's touch up on that. I think this movie, hands down, this movie was the movie of the Emmas, so to speak. And what do I mean by that? The Cruella de Vil, portrayed by Emma Stone, excellent character. And the Baroness, her rival, played by Emma Thompson, another excellent character. And I mean, they both probably were easily the most standout characters of the entire movie. And you know, the way that they handled themselves, the way they spoke, the way they walked, the way they carried their costumes. Oh my! I mean, it. These two definitely killed it. And touching up a bit on the directing, you know, I looked into Mr. Craig Gillespie, and I do believe I'm correcting his name. I'm pronouncing his name correctly because I did see an interview of his, and I must say he did an excellent job because I think it's really difficult to you know be on that fine line between whimsical but still real enough to where it's somewhat believable. And the movie just kept going between the two lines, and I think it did a good job of teeter tattering between that, and that's not easy to do. And moreover, looking into some of his work, as I mentioned, I noticed that he's also the director of Million Dollar Arm and I, Tonya. And Million Dollar Arm is an excellent movie, and I highly recommended it to all of you. And as for I, Tonya, I haven't seen it, but I've heard amazing things about it, so I might check it out in the near future. But let's conclude this section, and let's get into some of the meaty aspect, and I'll see you guys on the spoiler side. All right, welcome to the spoiler section, and let's continue where we left off. I think one particular thing I want to point out with respect to the story and how it went along was, you know, in the beginning I felt it was a little bit slow because it was building up to when she was young, and then you know eventually she starts robbing people with her two friends, and then she finally gets a job with the Baroness. And I think that section of the movie, while it was fun, it was slightly slow, and I felt that maybe that could have even been a show. Like that whole section, they could have hashed it out a lot longer and just made a show out of it if they really wanted. But I think the true turning point in the movie is when, you know, she starts becoming Cruella. And I think we can look back to some of the grand entrances and some of the amazing music that went with it, and of course her costumes, all of which I'll touch on a little bit later. I think the true turning point was right after she's been told, you know, that she's the daughter of the Baroness. I felt right after that scene when she has, you know, a pretty lengthy monologue where she goes to the fountain and she just sits there, or she just stands there and she just talks to herself and kind of finds out who she is, and she realizes she is Cruella, and that's who she'll be going forward. I felt that was one of my favorite scenes because that was such a big turning point in the story, and especially for her transition as a character and to finally become Cruella, and that's what the whole point of the movie is, right? It's an origin story. But before I get more into it, let's actually take a look at the scene itself here.
I'm Cruella. Born brilliant. Born bad. And a little bit mad.
So if you can't tell, this was the exact scene that I tried to kind of mimic or redo in the beginning of the video as the intro, so hopefully you liked my rendition of it. But also, you know, I'm pretty sure you can tell that this wasn't the entire monologue because I don't want to deal with copyright issues, so I only put in maybe 14-15 seconds of that clip, and I hope you enjoyed that because I felt this scene was really strong, and especially the way that Emma Stone, you know, did her lines with her pauses. I mean, the pauses themselves probably spoke more than even the lines that she had, which is saying a lot. But moving on from you know, from this particular scene, I just mentioned some of the grand entrances, and I think that was just such a fun aspect because you know every time, you know, every few minutes I'd be waiting for what's next. You know, what amazing costume am I about to see? What amazing entrance or you know music piece that goes with the entrance am I about to see? And I felt that not only were they memorable, it was almost like teetering towards crazy, and but like a hint of crazy genius. And a lot of these costumes even reminded me of a lot of the costumes that Katniss Everdeen wore in Hunger Games, in you know the Hunger Games franchise, where her designer Cinna, he made all these costumes, and some of them they had like moving parts. And I remember there was one particular costume where her dress caught on fire and then it became coal, almost similar to the dress that we saw in the trailer and the one I'm about to post over here. So let's take a look at three of the dresses I probably enjoyed the most. And again, there are a ton of dresses that Cruella wore throughout, so I don't want to spoil too many. And I understand this is a spoiler section, but I'm not going to spoil too many of her dresses. But I think these three here that you see on the screen here are probably my most favorite dresses from the movie. I mean, come on, these two red pieces, just elegant and beautiful. And especially the first one, the way that it transformed as we saw in the trailer, that was just unexpected and just a wow moment to begin with. And then the last dress here you see on the far right, this was a very cool piece because it's literally made out of trash. And that's saying something. It's like, hey, you think I'm beneath you? I can literally take trash and make a better dress than you. And I thought that was like a massive gut punch, which was like, like another one of the quote unquote turning points, so to speak, because she had come into her own as a designer, and she doesn't need anyone's approval, anyone's assistance, nothing. But in terms of the movie overall, I think while I've pointed out a lot of the pros, let's get to a few of the flaws in the movies that I noticed. I felt that there were a lot of tonal shifts in the way the story was told, and that was probably because Cruella, her character itself, or character herself, went through so many phases of, do I want to just be that evil person and just get revenge, or no, I can't do that. I'm actually a nice person at heart, just teetering, tattering back and forth, and that was evident in the storytelling as well, which is fine. But occasionally I felt like there were too many jumps back and forth. But also the whole narrative that the Baroness is her mother and she tried to get her killed when she was being born, blah blah blah, or right after she'd been born. That was just so dramatic. That's the kind of stuff I'm used to seeing in dramatic Bollywood movies. But I guess we'll put that aside because it is a Disney movie. We'll put that aside for a second and continue on from there. But I felt that it was slightly, a bit over the top. But also, I was I was very amused that Cruella kept on causing continuous mayhem, and there were almost no consequences. I mean, she kept getting away with everything, and everything kept on going without a hitch. And I guess we can ignore that because she's meant to be a supervillain at the end of the day. But and speaking of the supervillain aspect, it was just really cool to see the chemistry that the Baroness and Cruella had, because it was almost like the battle of the supervillains, and we don't normally get to see that. Normally it's like the good, the bad, so hero, villain, blah blah. But here it was like, both these characters are probably bad, but we're still rooting for one of them. So it was like villain versus villain, and that was really cool. And besides some of the positives, and going back to the positives for a second, some of the positives I already touched on, were great. But one final thing I want to reiterate, which I've already mentioned, is Emma Stone's acting in this movie was just so standout. I mean, of course, both the Emmas were amazing, as I already mentioned, but Emma Stone truly killed it. And I think, we've seen her in comedy roles like Zombieland, or we've seen her in Oscar movies like La La Land, and we've even seen her in action hero movies like the Amazing Spider-Man franchise. But I think this role was kind of different from what we've normally seen her in, and we saw like a little mischievous side, we saw a few comic elements, and we saw the dark side as well. So I think she really showed multiple shades of acting, and it wasn't one toned, which is very necessary for a key role like that. So all in all, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the movie as much as I did. To conclude, I would now like to give my movie rating, and this was a little tough because while it was fun, it was mischievous, and like I said, this is probably the darkest Disney movie I've seen, which I did enjoy. It had its few flaws, and sometimes it was a bit over the top. So keeping all those things in mind, I'll probably give it a 7 out of 10, which I think is still a solid rating. And again, I'd like to recommend this to people of all ages, whether you're into Disney movies or not, whether if you know about Cruella, or if you've even seen 101 Dalmatians or not. I think it's a must watch. So please check out the movie, and let me know if you agree with my rating, and also let me know if you have any suggestions for what I should watch next. Thank you for joining. I'll see you guys on the other side. Bye bye.